Welcome to Potential Show. This is a show where we sit down with founders and investors to talk about their stories and secrets to succeed in the international startup world and make an impact on society. Before we welcome our genius guest, Christina Chi, I'd like to talk about her and what she's been doing so far, so you're updated with her success. So Christina is the founding partner at Domeyard, a high-frequency trading hedge fund that lands over 1 billion transactions. And she's also the CEO and founder of her new company, Databento, a platform that offers on-demand, institutional quality data. She's actually contributed to bunch of other stuff like AI in finance at World Economic Forum. She's also a visiting lecturer at MIT, and also she teaches her case study, her Domeyard's case study at Harvard Business School, and also other universities. She's also elected to MIT's Board of Trustees as well. So talking about her fund, Domeyard, it's a quantitative hedge fund startup co-founded by her and her other two co-founders, Luca Lin and Jonathan Wan. It's currently based in Boston, Massachusetts, and deploys a fully automated approach to execute high-frequency trades through a suite of proprietary technologies. Domeyard trades a diverse range of asset classes, including equities, futures, fixed income instruments, energy products, and commodities. The company is backed by Howard Morgan and also Gary Bergstrom. So let's look at their major investors. So their major institutional investors are SoftBank and Renren.com. For those you don't know, Renren.com, it's a social network in China like Facebook. And also they were invested by founders of Acadian and Renaissance and also First Round Capital. Now, talking about her new company, Databento, it's funded by her and it's based in Boston, Massachusetts. To give you a context of this startup, let me tell you that many hedge funds, as data is crucial to fund management and decision making, for them, purchasing large amount of alternative data is kind of considered normal, yet sometimes unnecessary. So just as its name, her company's name Databento, the company offers customized data, enabling flexible purchase of data that best meet client needs, right? Databento, bento box of data. And the company actually prides in high flexibility of data format, wide coverage, and first access. Speaking of the founding, it's actually funded for about $3.3 million for its Series A deal from Good Growth Capital. Looking at their clients, they've got clients like Putnam Investments, Backblaze, Merkley, Nexpress, and more. So it's a very promising startup company funded by Christina Chi. Now let's talk to Christina Chi.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophia Chen, co-producer of Potentialist. Instead of Rian, I will be a host today. So right here today, we have an amazing guest, Christina, the founding partner of Domeyard and the CEO and founder of Databento. And she's joining us from Boston today. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you for having me, Sophia.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I've always looked forward to podcast with you, and I'm absolutely excited about today. And it was so much fun catching up with you in Japan last time.
Yeah, likewise. It was. I miss being in Japan, and hopefully we'll be able to travel again soon.
Yeah, it is a tough time. COVID has pretty much restricted all of the travelings, but I have hope that it's going to recover soon. As a successful startup founder, CEO, and a female, honestly, I would say you're definitely a really rare presence in the startup world and in the hedge fund world. And before we jump into any I would say technical questions, I would first I'd like you to share a little bit about your story, your background, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. So my background is kind of strange. I actually grew up in northern Utah, which
Wow.
not many people know about that. And then
Mhm.
I was one of the few like Asians in my school for the most part.
Wow.
And when I
Mhm.
went to college, so I went to MIT for undergrad. I was really
Yeah.
surprised because it's
Mhm.
very Asian and
Mhm.
very shocked. Like I had Korean food for the first time. I had like sushi for the first time at
Mhm.
MIT. I had never had Indian food or Ethiopian food or different
Wow.
cuisines until I went to Boston, and the
Mhm.
scenery is a lot more diverse, both at MIT and
Yeah.
Boston.
Mhm.
So, but then I actually started my company mainly due to like a bunch of failures in my life, surprisingly. So,
Wow.
I didn't know what I wanted to major in, and
Mhm.
failed out of a bunch of not failed, but did really poorly in many of my classes. And in America, when you go to college, you can choose, and you can change your major multiple times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually changed my major and ended up going. I like changed from like biology to bioengineering to like computer science
Wow. Mhm.
to finance, which is
It's a big
very
jump.
yeah, it's a big jump. But I ended up in finance almost like by accident because of all these mistakes and failing from all my courses, and then realized that finance is actually a pretty cool industry to be in.
Mhm.
And so I interned in a bunch of companies. And during that time, actually, oh, so funny story is actually I interned in Japan for one of my
Yeah.
summers. I had
Yeah.
interned
Wow.
like three different
Mhm.
banks, and one of them was
That's
actually
amazing.
in
Yeah.
Japan, in
Mhm.
Otemachi, which is probably where close to where you
Wow.
guys are.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then after that experience, decided to start a hedge fund and started it from my dorm room. So we were trading German
Mhm.
sessions at 3 in the morning, the German exchange, and
Yeah.
going to class during the
Super
daytime
cool.
and then trading at
Yeah.
night. So it was a
Wow.
and then we made so much money during so the funny thing is like I was
Good for
only
you.
like 20 years old-ish, 21 years old,
Mhm.
and we were making like so much money. I couldn't
Mhm.
believe it. Like I was like, wow, a small company can compete against like a big company and
Yeah.
actually do pretty good job. So I decided
Yeah.
after graduation just start this full time and
Mhm.
see what happens after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's really impressive. Good for you. You started so young and you had so much experience, like after you interned internationally. And I was just like super curious, like what made you decide to like switch to like hedge fund or start a high frequency trading fund? You could have also leveraged your internship experience to like go work in finance or start something else in fintech, right? Like why high frequency trading?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing on my end is I've always had a technical background. I think just because
Hmm.
going to MIT, every student we
Yeah.
have to take physics and math and computer science classes. No matter which major you are, you still have to get the
Hmm.
technical background. And so I realized like, oh, I know how to do math and statistics, and
Hmm.
I can apply that knowledge to finance. And I didn't know that was called high frequency trading. All I
Oh.
knew is like, okay, that's my method because traditionally, let's say if you do discretionary trading, you might rely
Yes.
on information or years and years of experience and knowledge,
Hmm.
to do your trades. But for me, I don't have years of experience and knowledge. I do
Hmm.
have math. I do have, like numbers by my side. And so
Yeah.
I decided to take a numbers approach and to start the fund based on like a numbers based strategy. And so it worked out really well. I didn't know it was called high frequency trading until like
Wow.
maybe a little bit later, maybe
Hmm.
2013 when we were graduating. And then 1 year later, a book called Flash Boys was published and
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
exposed like the entire industry. And it was really funny because the way we
Hmm.
were treated kind of before and after the book was published is actually very funny and very
Yeah.
different, just
Hmm.
because the respect for our industry kind of went down, and the
Yeah.
reputation of the industry, which is
Hmm.
fine. I think
Yeah.
there's good reasons for that also, but yeah, that's why we started in
Hmm.
high frequency trading.
Hmm.
What's also great, by the way, is because we're in the finance industry in general, I
Hmm.
feel like numbers don't lie, so
Hmm.
if I show investors,
Exactly.
here's our returns, right? Like you look at me,
Hmm.
I look like a kid. I look at the same age as their granddaughter. Sometimes,
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like the same age as like their, grandchildren.
Right.
But they come into my office and they kind of are surprised, like they see, oh, I'm the boss. They sometimes talk to my colleagues and think that they're the boss, and then they're like, no, talk to her. And I show them, I show them like the numbers, like here's our performance, and here's how we did, and they're like, oh, okay, they're like, they're okay. This person's like a real, like homono desu ne, like a real person, and so that really, it always shocks people a little bit, but that's the reality of it.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. It is really impressive. Well, honestly, not a lot of people would like start their own like high frequency trading fund right after college, right? And also given that you're a female in the industry, and I remember talking to you before, and you mentioned that when like during some of your internships, you realized that you don't really like anything like political in the workplace, and you wanted to start this like free culture, this like flat culture at your new company. And I know you also have like game nights, like movie nights, and like all these like interesting activities at your workplace, right? And you have like I know Domeyard has a 50-50 gender ratio, and so much culture diversity there. It's just simply very impressive, like what we have done, we have achieved.
I mean, there were mistakes we made also. So I did start Domeyard initially thinking, I want to have a better culture. But to be honest, I was very inexperienced. So I didn't know what better culture meant. And a lot of young people these days, they think better culture means like Google. They imagine like Google, Facebook. So like some office with like, I don't know, free food and nap rooms and free massage and office puppies and I don't know, like lots of benefits and perks and stuff. And so that's what I imagined, like maybe a good culture was. Actually, I was wrong. So like I'll give you some examples why. And so it was really embarrassing. Actually, if you Google articles about my company, you'll see like articles about how proud I was, like, oh, our company has a flat structure, flat being like everybody's called partner in the company. Big mistake. That was like, oh my God, like the biggest mistake. Because so when you call everyone partner, the problem is like we called 60-year-old employees and a 20-year-old employee all partner, right? Thinking like, oh, that's an equal structure. But actually, that's not fair, right? There's a difference between equality and fairness. And fairness is like if someone just came out of college, you don't deserve the partner title until you prove that you can add value, right? Yes. So the problem was we had an office manager who we hired, someone, their job is wash the dishes, clean the table, clean the office, but they partner title. So they came to me one day and they said, Christina, because I'm a partner, I want a partner salary also. And I said, what do you, and I said, well, how do I respond to that? And so I decided, okay, well, if you work towards this, hit these goals, then we'll give you, in America, at least like $70,000. And she said, I remember she told me per month, she expected $70,000 per month.
That's crazy. Wow.
For cleaning. Her job is literally cleaning tables, washing dishes, and like, managing the office. Right. And we could hire for a lot cheaper. And so we realized that that culture actually can be very bad because people think that they're like equal. Everyone needs to be exactly the same, but that's not how society works. Different jobs have different skill sets and different value they bring to company. Right. And so obviously like someone who washes dishes can be replaced a lot easier than like a senior software engineer in the company. It's really difficult to replace. So
that's true.
So thinking about that, I realized I made a mistake there. And then also with the perks, like we used to have, oh gosh, this is kind of embarrassing. Well, one of our colleagues, like we bought a soccer ball in the office. We wanted like a ping pong table and yoga mats. Like we did yoga. We had a book club, like someone we would do books every month and stuff. And then we realized none of it, people were still leaving the company. It doesn't matter how many perks we have. People leave the company because you stay at a company not because of soccer or because of, I don't know, ping pong or foosball or any games like that. You stay at the company because your work is being valued, because your voice is being heard, because you're learning, on the job. But people don't stay because we play Super Smash Brothers every week.
Right.
And so then we realized, like, why are we spending and wasting time on all of these perks that nobody really cares about? And, you know, it feels like we're forcing people sometimes to stay late and activities. So we decided, like, you know what, like, let's just get rid of the perks. And like, if they want to do something, like if they want to play soccer, buy your own soccer ball and go play, like, with your, you know, with my colleagues, whoever wants to play, go on your own. But like, you don't have to make it official, like, company activity, because that is actually bad for the company. We did keep some perks. So like, the ones we did keep are like free food. We cater food Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's because it actually brings the team closer together. Like, people on the sales team and people on the trading team, they can be like, oh, what are you working on? You know, so it can, and what do you call it? Inspires people, I guess. And makes people talk. And also make them stay in the office longer, I guess. It's always good to stay in the office.
That's That's the way, right? Yeah, definitely. I can totally see, you know, like from the very beginning, we all make mistakes when we like start from scratch, right? So it's great that you kind of learned this from your like experience, and then decided to gradually kind of adjust your company culture and adjust the whole system based on how, like, what's the most efficient, and also what's the best for the employees, right? You know, since I understand that we, you know, previously mentioned a few times about like high frequency trading, right? I'm sure some of our audience probably like never heard of the word high frequency trading, and maybe they're like not sure what it is. I was wondering if you can, you know, tell the audience just a little bit about what, like, in a simple and I would say simple and easily understandable fashion, like what high frequency trading is.
So high frequency trading is basically just trading at very high frequencies. That's like the best, easiest definition to understand. So what that means is, like, most people, when you trade, you look at data and then you kind of place a manual trade, right? But for us, we look at data more almost like through a microscope, like it's through a very narrow lens. And you look at through a microscope, you can see like bacteria, right, in science. So same with in trading and high frequency trading, we look at through a microscope, we can see trades and data at this, we call it the nanosecond resolution, which is like very like short periods of time. And then we can make and look at and analyze those types of activities that are happening through a microscopic lens, and then trade many, many times per day. So these are many small trades during the day. Most high frequency trading firms will turn over their portfolio many times. So meaning like, so for us, like our highest volume we traded during one day is 7.1 billion. So like we trade,
that's impressive.
We trade a lot of money. And then what else is there? So the biggest like misconception about high frequency trading, which is talked about in Flash Boys, but basically, people think that high frequency trading is front running, or when you imagine like what is high frequency trading, people think, oh, it's like companies, we blast holes under the mountain and under river through mountains and try to wire like a cable from New York to Chicago, or but that's actually not what we do at all. Like that's very like 10, 20 years ago. It's a 10-year ago type of thing. So today, if you're like a high frequency trading firm like us, the fastest speeds between different exchanges like New York and Chicago, a lot of the speeds are just owned by vendors. So we just pay a vendor like, I don't know, $5,000 a month. It's actually pretty cheap, and you get the same speed as like a Goldman Sachs, which is really cool. So so the speed rise, like everyone is pretty fast already. The barrier to entry for speed is a lot better than it used to be. And we also don't do front running. I think that's another misconception is Michael Lewis talks about like high frequency traders doing front running, which is like they take other orders and then, you know, they kind of like look at your orders and like, oh, we're going to trade you we're going to trade in front of you, you know. That's actually illegal. And there's I guess can I explain this? It's hard to explain, but if you guys, I don't know, in Japan, like do people use Robinhood or any kind of like $0 brokerage? There's a lot in Japan, I'm sure. But if you use like any brokerage that charges you like $0 to place a trade, then the question is, how do they make money? Well, they make money by actually sending the retail orders to a high frequency trading firm, and the high frequency trading firm executes that order and pays the broker. So the broker makes a lot of money, but the HFT firm will execute the order at the best price. They're required to execute at the number one best price. They cannot front run, but they do gain, it's kind of like they get that data and they get that knowledge and information. So they can, they usually take the other side of the trade, if that makes sense. And they assume that the retail trader is extremely dumb. Unfortunately, that's just, they assume the retail traders, like Robinhood, makes so much money because like their traders tend to be like college kids, right? And they don't know what they're doing. And so the high frequency trader will just trade off the college kid, and make a lot of money at the same time. But it's not the college kid's fault or the high frequency trader's fault. It's just that they agreed to the trade, and so anyway, so that's how the brokerage make money. And Flash Boys exposed that, revealed that this synergy relationship between these two companies, types of companies, and it caused like a big uproar. But we actually don't buy order flows. The good news is it's called buying order flow, and we don't do that as a company. All we do is just take exchange data just like everybody else and just trade off of that data. So we like play in the same kind of arena as like most other traders.
Wow, that's really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing and explaining. And I understand that you started your company like many years ago. So back then, when you were fresh out of college, was it a really niche thing to start a high frequency trading fund, or are there other like competitors out there back then?
It was very niche. I think it was kind of weird because not a lot of entrepreneurs would start hedge funds back then. And especially not in high frequency trading. That's kind of weird. We actually, there weren't a lot of competitors, and that was actually really nice a little bit because like I don't have to worry about people. I'm just kind of like, I'll just do my own thing. And then if people want to start a hedge fund, my inclination is to help them instead of like trying to compete, just because there's so few of us, and the success rate, even without my help, success rate is like, almost like 1% or something in this industry. So it's true. Like better to just help people. But what's interesting is recently there's been a lot more new hedge funds and younger founders. And it's not because of high frequency trading. High frequency is a very mature industry now in comparison. It's actually in cryptocurrency. So there's a lot of like crypto hedge funds that are starting all around the world, and these founders are like people who look like us, just like younger, and they just want to try something new and achieve their dreams. And so that's been very encouraging for me to see, because I did feel kind of lonely starting the high frequency business back then, because there were no resources, there's no one to help you, no one wanted to like mentor, and like because they think the success rate is just so small. It's true. So I'm glad that it's getting better today.
Back then definitely there weren't that many resources. Like nowadays we have like a lot of open source, right? And we can obviously exchange information so conveniently. And I would say that information access has given so much convenience for new founders to start their startups and their hedge funds. So that shows even more difficulty back then, like how you've been through all these like things to start your company, and you've gone this far. I am like very impressed by how much you've gone, and like how much you've achieved and how far you've gone. And I understand that Domeyard, it is very unique in the whole industry, and it differentiates itself from so many competitors out there. And I was wondering, like, what would you consider your biggest differentiator? And and in some of the events, or like previously when we talked, you mentioned like in the past, some people say like, oh, high frequency trading is like a hype. Some people say like high frequency HFT is like dead ever since like Flash Boys came out, right? So obviously that's only one side of the view. And like, what do you think? And also like how does Domeyard differentiate itself from other competitors?
Wow, you are asking fantastic questions. So,
Thank you.
so funny story was actually when we were like launching the fund at the very beginning, many investors came to us and they asked the same question, right? Like the biggest question investor will say was, well, what makes you different from all of those like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or another high
Right.
frequency trading fund? It's a very common question. And actually
Yeah.
funny thing is I remember the SoftBank came to our office and they asked us that question. And I remember just saying like, oh, speed, like it's as long as we're faster than everyone else, we have a big advantage. And they were like, okay, great. And then it was funny because I met with SoftBank in Japan about
Wow.
5 or 6 years later.
Mhm.
And they asked me the same question again, what's your advantage now? And,
Yeah.
if I said speed, again, just one word, speed, they would probably laugh in my face because today speed is no longer an advantage in our space anymore
Right.
because everyone can get the same speeds, pretty much as long as you're like smart enough and pay
Hmm.
the right vendors and stuff.
Yeah.
So today the advantage has to be you have to have everything like okay. So like you need to have a good team with very low turnover.
Hmm.
As soon as a hedge fund makes a lot of money, the temptation is to leave, right? Temptation
Yeah.
is take all your millions of dollars, leave and start your own company or just retire. That's the temptation. So like proving that people want to stay is very
Hmm.
important, but also technology, like how much legacy technology do you have? Can you keep up? Is it different from other firms? And so the good news for our end is we built all of our technologies from scratch. It's a lot of difficult vocabulary. I'm sorry, I don't know if you have to translate this, but I'm very sorry. I'll just list some of the systems we
No worries
built.
at all. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to list some of the systems we built just to give you a sense. So we
Sure.
built our order management system, data feed
Hmm.
handlers, execution
Yes.
gateways, market engine simulators, pretty much
Hmm.
like every piece of trading technology you can think of
Hmm.
from scratch back then. And actually the reason for it was because we didn't have a choice. There was just nothing, no open source or also no vendors we could pay because
Hmm.
back then there was just nothing. It was a very
Yeah.
decommoditized industry. And so, but now it's a lot
Yeah.
more commoditized. So anyway,
Hmm.
so that's technology has to be different. Strategy wise, also, how do you maintain your alpha is difficult,
Hmm.
especially in high
Exactly.
frequency, because alpha decay in our space is actually very quick sometimes. So some
Mm.
strategies we
Mm.
have last for a month, 3 months, if we're lucky,
Yeah.
6 months, if we're very lucky, and then they just kind
Hmm.
of go away because the industry moves so quickly and
Hmm.
catches on to information so quickly. So how do you constantly innovate? How do you find new ideas? And like how do you make sure that your strategy works between doing like a back test and actually running it live? How do you make sure
Yeah.
it works? So making
Hmm.
sure all those things are good. And then I guess the other thing I forgot to mention is also risk management and
Hmm.
compliance. People don't think about
Yeah.
these things, but a lot of times hedge funds shut down because they like had terrible risk management protocols.
Hmm.
When I was interning in Japan, actually, I was just on like a regular sales trading desk. But I remember one day I was like reading the news, and the front page said like Knight Capital. This hedge fund, we were actually trading, I remember, and we were like, wait, what's
Hmm.
going on? The markets were going crazy. And it was because
Wow.
this one high frequency trading fund, their
Oh,
algorithms like went crazy and they accidentally deployed a strategy that they weren't supposed to deploy, and they lost like $40 million or
that's
something.
chaotic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and their business shut down because within like 30 minutes or whatever, their business completely just got destroyed. And so risk
That's
management
awful.
protocols, yeah, are
Yeah.
very important. And
Hmm.
yeah, so there's a lot of different factors, but I guess the other thing that's funny to mention is like when hedge funds fail, most hedge funds fail eventually, right?
Mm. Mm.
Probably like the success rate is less than 10%. I think it's very
Hmm.
small.
Right.
But the reason why hedge funds fail, we analyze like the reasons, and it's very surprising because you would think like most hedge funds fail because of like bad performance, but
Hmm.
actually most hedge funds, I'd say like over 50% in the past like 10 years failed
Wow.
because of operational reasons rather than performance, like trading reasons.
That's really
Um,
surprising. Yeah.
yeah. So things like, because like you can have a bad performance year, and if your investors stay,
Hmm.
then you still have a business, so long as your clients stay, right? But if you have like if your operations are bad, like maybe you fail to report something or you fail to manage your team and your team left, then your investors are more likely to leave too.